Okay, we're going to be looking at the 5-3 through 5-4 review practice quiz that you got in class. If for some reason you don't have that practice quiz, now would be a good time to get it out or print it off of It's Learning, whatever's easiest for you. Okay, these first set of questions, and I'm not going to go through every one of these because you will find all of these answers on It's Learning under the resources or in the plans from today, which is Thursday. So we're going to just pick a few out and do a few. So the first one is find the measure of AOB. And AOB would be this angle right here. And we like when part of the angle is starting at 0 because it's really easy to count when it starts at 0. So if I want to go AOB, then that would start at 0 and go 10, 20, 30, 40, and then halfway between 40 and 50 would be 45 degrees. And so I'm looking at this guy right here. And then the other thing that I have to do is classify this. And when it says classify, it's asking you, is it acute, which is less than 90? Is it 90, which is right? Is it obtuse, which is between 90 and 180? Or is it 180, which is a straight angle? This one is less than 90, so we call that acute. Now, not every single angle is going to be starting at 0. So let's say we look at BOE here. So BOE, we're measuring this angle right here from B to E, right? And we have two options here. We can count by 5s or 10s if we want, or we can subtract, and I'm going to show you both of those. So let's say I want to count, and I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit here so that you can see these lines a little clearer. We're counting from B to E, and I'll just count by 5s. So that would be, and remember your count spaces, so like that would be your first one. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 105, and 110. So that will be 110 degrees, which is larger than 90 but smaller than 180, so that would be obtuse. Your other option here would be to subtract. So B is hitting at 135 degrees. And E is hitting, if we stay on the outside, E is hitting over here at 25 degrees. And so what we could have done to get that answer for BOE is just to subtract 135 minus 25, and that would also get us that 110. So you can do this two ways. You can count, or you can subtract, or you can do both just to make sure your answer is correct, right? And then I think that's probably enough in that section. Again, go ahead and do that and then check your answers on It's Learning. All right. The next section is your angle addition postulate. And I want to do this the same way I did it before, where the first thing I do is I locate the name of the entire angle, right? So the entire angle is JKL. Right? So this part, this is the entire angle. This is what it's going to be equal to. Okay? So we know JKM, so angle JKM plus angle MKL is going to be equal to, and I know I'm going to kind of squish over here, but that's going to be equal to the entire JKL angle. Right? And then we want to know what is JKM. So JKM would be this angle right here. So we want to know this one. And we know that JKL is 143. So we know this is going to be equal to 143 degrees. We don't know what this one is, right? So I'm just going to put X for that. And then we know that MKL So the rest of it is 72 degrees. So we're going to replace MKL with 72. And so I can just subtract. Remember, anytime you're solving for part of something, part of a line or part of an angle, you're going to be subtracting. And then I'm just going to subtract 143 minus 72. And that's going to give me a 71 degree angle. And I can put the degree symbol on this one because of that. Actually, I don't want to box that, right? Because I don't want to call this X. I want to call this the measure of angle JKM is 71 degrees. That's better. Better notation right there. Okay. Okay, let's do that again. So looking at number 3, this time with variables involved, I'm going to do the thing where I make sure I look at all of it. So CDE. CDE is the entire angle. So the entire angle is 150. And then CDF, so CDF is 5x plus 16. So this part is 5x plus 16. And FDE is 3x minus 10. So I know part plus part equals whole. So I'm just going to add 5x plus 16 to 3x minus 10 and set that equal to 150. And then I can combine like terms. So that's 8x, and then 16 minus 10 is just plus 6. And then subtract 6. Use your line to organize if you feel like you still need that line, okay? 8x would be 144. And then I can divide both sides by 8. And that would give me 18. So notice I need to be careful. Always go back and ask yourself, what is this question asking? So it says, find CDF. So I can't stop at X. I need to go all the way to CDF. So I know I can find the measure of angle CDF by taking 5, multiplying it times X, and adding 16. So plug in your 18. 5 times 18 plus 16. So I just plugged in what I solved for. 5 times 18 is 90. And 90 plus 16 is 106. So that's going to give me the measure of angle CDF, which is what it's actually asking for. And again, ending with the degrees symbol because I've actually measured an angle or found the measurement of an angle at that point. All right, question number 4 says the ray OB bisects the angle. So OB bisects the whole angle. So I know these are going to be the same. And we know that the angle the angle AOC is 48. So that's what that 48 out here is telling me. So if I want to know AOB, all I have to remember about the word bisects is it cuts the angle in half. So I end up with 2 equal parts. That's the bi part of that word, 2 equal parts. So if this is 48, if I divide it by 2, cut it in half, then I get 24 degrees for each of these. Remember, I'm writing my final answer. If it says this, if it says find the measure of AOB, my final answer should look like the measure of AOB equals 24 in this case, degrees because it's an actual angle. All right, moving on to question number 5. It says find the measure of angle U. So I'm seeing vertical angles, right? So I'm seeing this X. And so that tells me that this angle and this angle are going to be the same. So I know that if I combined 25 and U, I would get 69. So you might just guess until you got 69, right? 25 plus what would give you 69? Or we can set up an equation. 25 plus some angle should equal 69 because they're vertical angles. And then just subtract 25 from each side. and I end up with u is equal to, that's a 4, that's a 4, so that would be 44 degrees. Again, u is its own angle, so I can give it a degree symbol. Find the measure of k in number 6. So this time we're looking at a whole 3 angles coming together to create a line, which is 180 degrees. So I know that k plus 55 plus 40 should give me a whole line, which is 180. Now I should be able to combine these, and that gives me 95. And then subtract 95 from each side, and I get k is 180 minus 95. Let me not mess that up, something simple. K is its own angle, so even though that looks 90 and you might be tempted to say it's 90, it's actually 85. So actually do the work and make sure. Number 7, again, we're combining B and 25 so that we're looking for that angle relationship. And even though we see an X in this case, right, if we see the X, we might note that this one's 25, but we're looking for B in this case. So we're looking at this one and this one, and together those make a line. So I would want to say that B plus 25 has to be 180. And then subtract 25, and I'm going to get B is 155, and it's its own angle, so it gets a degree symbol. Number 8, I'm talking about this angle, and together they make an X, and they're on the opposite sides of that X. And so I know I can set them equal to each other and solve. So I'm going to get 14x plus 5 has to be 33. And then solve that. So I can subtract 5 and get 14x equals 33 minus 5, which is 28. So divide by 14, and I get x equals 2. Number 9, I'm seeing a 120, a 95, and a B going all the way around together. And remember, anytime we make that full circle, we're talking about 360 degrees. We can add 120 plus 95 plus B, and I have to get 360. So when I combine 120 to 95, that gives me 215. And then I can take 360, subtract 215, and I get 145. Like B is its own angle. It gets, I don't know why I put the 145 right there. Let me write all the steps here. I subtracted 215 from both sides, and that gave me B 145 degrees. Number 10, it says, what is the measure of BDC? So you need to notice this right here. That tells me 90, right? So I don't know BDC, so I'm going to put an X in there because that's the one I'm looking for. And I know that 47 combined with X has to give me 90 because of that mark. That mark tells me they're 90 together. And then subtract 47 from each side. And X has to be 90 minus 47, which is 43. It's its own angle. It gets a degree symbol. And, maybe I shouldn't stop at X equals. Maybe I should go all the way to the measure of angle BDC and answer the question that's being asked is equal to 43 degrees. Okay. Moving on. And so I'm going to always mark my angles to try to figure out what the relationship is So I'm looking at this angle, I'm looking at this angle. I see that I've made an X and that they are on opposite sides of that X. So that tells me that they have to be equal to each other. So I know that 3x plus 17 has to be equal to 6x minus 10. Then I'm going to subtract 3x from each side, right? I'm trying to get x's only on one side, so I get rid of them on there. And I always move that smaller x first, try to keep from having negatives. Now I'm going to move my numbers together, and I want the numbers in the x to be on opposite sides, so I'm going to add 10. I'm going to get 3x is equal to 27, divide by 3 on both sides, and that's going to give me x is equal to 9. And then I go back, check what it's asking for. It's only asking for the value of x, so that tells me I can stop. I don't need a degree symbol, though, because it's not an actual angle. Number 12, I'm seeing this mark right here telling me that together they're going to come together to make 90 degrees. So I can set up the angle relationship to say that x plus 1 plus 2x plus 2 is equal to 90. Then I can combine like terms. So x and 2x comes together to make 3x. 1 and 2 comes together to make 3. And then I can subtract 3 from each side, and 3x is equal to 87. And 87, when I divide both sides by 3, becomes 29. One more in this angle relationships section, and when I look at these angles all together, I see here's one, and here's one, and all together they make this line, right? So all together we have 180 degrees between them. So when I set up my angle relationship, it's going to look like 2x plus 80 plus x is equal to 180 degrees. I'm going to pause for just a moment. Okay, I apologize. When I combine like terms here for my 2x plus 80 plus x, the 2x and the x come together to make 3x. So we have 3x plus 80 is equal to 180. And then I can subtract 80, and that gives me 3x is equal to 100. And this is going to be one of those rare problems where we end up getting a decimal. So when I take 100 and divide it by 3, I end up with 33.3 repeating. So I'm just going to put 33.3. Okay, almost done, only a few more. Number 14, it says if the two angles below are supplementary. So what we need to know about supplementary is that they add to 180 degrees. So I know that these two angles are supplementary. That means I know that 2x minus 4 plus x plus 14 has to be 180. Combining like terms, that gives me 10x. And then negative 4 and positive 14 is positive 10 is 180. Subtract 10, and I get 10x is 170. Divide by 10, and that gives me x is 17. Double checking that this is what I'm actually finding, I go back to the reading and it says find the value of x. So I'm good. I can check any of these by plugging my x back in and making sure the relationship holds true. Number 15 is very similar. If the two angles below are complementary, so remember complementary means they add to 90 degrees, then I can set up my angle relationship to say, okay, if I add these two angles together, I'm going to get 90. So if I combine like terms here, that gives me 4x minus 6 equals 90. I can add 6, and I get 4x equals 96. And then I can divide by 4, and I end up with x is equal to 24. I go back up here, double check that that's what it's asking me for, and it is. So x is equal to 24. 2 more. Find the value of x. So this time I am given all these angles, right? And I know that if I add this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, all together, they're going to be 360 degrees. So I'm going to add 10x plus 4x plus x plus 10 plus 8x plus 5 all together. And because it's all 360 degrees, that's what it equals. Then I can combine like terms. So there's 10x, 14x's, 15x's, 23x's. And here's 10 plus 5, which is 15, equals 360. So I'm going to continue solving this by subtracting 15 from each side of the equation, giving me 23x is equal to 345. And then I'm going to divide by 23. And I'm going to get x is equal to 15. I go back up, look and see what it's actually asking for. Just the value of x, I can stop. Last one, you have to draw the picture. So it says ray PK bisects LPM. So if I just draw a random angle, I don't know anything about it, right? Then I've got LPM, and I have PK, ray PK, bisecting it, right? Bisecting it means this is the same as this. Then it tells me that LPM is 11x. LPM. So the whole angle is 11x. And LPK is 4x plus 18. 4x plus 18. And it wants to know what the measure of KPM is, KPM. And not in terms of x, but actually what is its measurement? So if this is 4x plus 18, and this was the bisector, then these have to be the same measurement. So this has to also be 4x plus 18 because it split it into two equal angles. Then I should be able to combine these and set it equal to this, right? Angle addition. This plus this equals this. So 4x plus 18 plus 4x plus 18 has to be 11x. 4x and 4x is 8x. 18 and 18 is 36. And because I have x's on both sides, let me organize myself. Then I can get my x's together by removing the 8x from the left side, keeping it balanced by also subtracting it on the right side. And I'm just going to subtract 11 minus 8, and that's going to give me 3x. Then I can divide by 3, and x is 12, right? So I might think, okay, I'm done because I found x. But remember, we're always going back up and we're checking for what the question is actually asking us, which is the measure of KPM in this case. So we can find the measure of KPM. Might help if I had an angle symbol here. Of angle KPM by taking 4, multiplying it times x, and adding 18 to it. Right? So that would be 4 multiplied times the x, which I found, which was 12, and then adding 18 to it. So 4 times 12 is 48, and then 18 more is 66 degrees. Okay? All right, guys, I hope that helps, and I hope you do well on the quiz tomorrow. So I will see you then.